This is my story about how I transitioned from full-time to part-time. It's kind of a long video, and I know not everyone might watch it to the end, but at the end, I ask everyone to put down in the comments how you transition from part-time to full-time so that everyone can see different ways and know that it can be done. That yes, it's hard, but it can be done. It doesn't necessarily have to just be tents, tables and chairs, or rental company. Any business that you had, how you transition from part-time to full-time, I think it'll be beneficial for people to see all different stories, not just mine, because mine, is not typical. Actually, no story is typical. It's just everyone came to be full-time in a different path. So just leave those comments down. Now here's the video. So a viewer had a very interesting question. He wanted to know how I transitioned from part-time to full-time tents. So this is my story. At the end, I will give you an example of someone else's because my story is not going to fit for everyone. Basically, when I graduated college, I decided to do tents, but I knew that wasn't going to be enough money, so I had a normal job, and I was just going to do tents on the side for extra money. So I had a normal job. I was actually a room cleaner at a casino, which kind of sucks, not using the degree for anything. But I would make sure that I had every Friday and Monday off, and I would work at the casino every other day of the week. So Fridays I would do my deliveries, and Mondays I'd do my pickups. I was delivering 20 by 20, 20 by 30, and 20 by 40. I had no tables and chairs at the time. So I just made sure that I always had those days off, and it wasn't that hard to do. But not every job is going to give you Friday and Mondays off. You may have a more traditional office job, 9 to 5 or something like that. So that's not really going to work. So maybe you can get Fridays off and then Sundays go do your pickups. But then I quit the casino and I started working at a gas station where I had the same kind of deal, plus I had overnights, so I had a little more flexibility. And then I got my big boy job. I worked at an insurance company doing underwriting, and I was still just doing that. At the underwriting job, I had to work, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. But I would go set up a tent on my lunch if it was close by. I'd go take down a tent on my lunch several times if it was close by. But other than that, I'd have to go after work. And then Sundays would be the days I'd go take down. Rain or shine, no matter what, it had to come down because that was my day off. Same thing when I was doing it on Monday. If it was raining on Monday, I still had to take it down. Did not matter. And most of the time I was doing those by myself. At that point, once I got the big boy Utica National insurance job, I had friends to help me. But before that, I was all alone. So it was a little easier with people. And then once I got into weddings, I had organized with my insurance job to have every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday off. So I was only working Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10 and 12 hour shifts to try to make up for the time that I was missing. It was a big risk, a big gamble. So every Sunday and Monday we'd be picking things up. Wednesday we would be delivering and setting up the big wedding tent. And then Friday would be all the other tents. And I had set it up with Ryder at the time, where I would have a truck from Friday through Monday, because at the time you had weekends free if you rented from Friday to Monday. So I'd have it all weekend. I'd bring it back for Tuesday, pick it up Wednesday, bring it back Wednesday night, and then pick it up Friday morning. So I wasn't paying for Tuesday and Thursday, which, looking back on it now, it wouldn't have been that much more just to have it the whole time and not have to deal with that. But it was saving money at the time that I needed to save money. And then one day we were out driving on a Wednesday, setting up our big 40 by 80. And I got a phone call for the next week. They needed a 40 by 80 tables and chairs. It was a last minute thing. And at this point I had already organized my entire weeks to be able to do these things and still have time at work. Like if I didn't have a big wedding tent coming up, I would work at the insurance place on Wednesday. So I was going to be working Wednesday. So I told him, I don't have it available because of time. So hung up, I was driving, and I started yelling at myself pretty loudly and swearing because I knew I was missing out on like $3,000 because I was going to be working. So I called the guy back and said, hey, it's available. we'll be able to do it. So I booked the job, and then I had to figure out what I was going to go do with work. Instead of just asking for the day off, I went in the next day and said, hey, I gave my 2-week notice 2 weeks ago. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, my 2-week notice is happening 2 weeks ago. And they were like, all right. Basically, I just quit. But then they walked me out because they don't let you stay once you say you're leaving. Even if I did give a 2-week notice, they would walk me out that day anyways, because they don't want you taking customer details. They think you're going to go work for another insurance company or an agent or something. And what's crazy is that same day we were also closing on our house. So that gave me a little extra of a push because we closed on the house and I no longer needed to have a job to prove income. That's one of the main reasons I was keeping it, to prove that I could pay back the loan. So we closed on the house and I quit my job. And then the rest of the summer was just a full-time gig. And I knew that I wasn't making that much money, and I'd have to survive the winter. So I saved a lot of money. And then I didn't know what I was going to do with myself in the winter. So I got a job at Pier 1 Imports putting together furniture. I didn't need the money. And it was kind of like disheartening because I'd be there for 8 to 10 hours during the Christmas season and make minimum wage. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I just made $60 today. I could have made $60 in half an hour delivering some tables and chairs. If I ever had to turn down a job because I was working, I was just thinking, man, I just missed out on $150, but I went to work and made $60. So that kind of cemented in my brain even more that I didn't want a real job. I didn't want to work for an hourly rate and only be limited to that much money per day. So, the next summer came along, again, full time. I had some friends who helped out, paid them, and saved for the winter. And then the next winter, I didn't get a job. It was a kind of boring winter. This was in the beginning, I was slow. I didn't have a lot to do. Maybe every other week I would do a delivery or whatever. So that winter, I watched Deep Space Nine every single day from the moment my wife went to work to about an hour before she went home, and then I'd clean the house and do the things I had to do. I'd never seen Deep Space Nine. I was always the Next Generations fan. Deep Space Nine, boo. But anyways, I liked it, but whatever. And then from there, just saved money for the winters. A lot of winters weren't that busy. They didn't really get busy until I got this warehouse because we weren't doing dishes at the time. And it was kind of hard to do stuff out of the other warehouse. And I wasn't like putting myself out there as much for winter work. But now, I got winter work almost every single day. We're delivering or picking something up now. And that was the transition. It was smooth, nothing very scary. And because this industry, if you work hard at it and keep going, I don't really think you can fail. As long as you keep going at it, this is an industry where it's almost recession proof and people are always going to be having parties. So I was never really terribly scared. I've never had any scary times thinking, when am I going to pay the bills or whatever? Or how am I going to be able to? So it was all very smooth. Now, I was young, 22, 23, quit my job at, I think, 27. So there wasn't that much to lose. So it was easy, and I could have those part-time jobs, those jobs at a gas station or cleaning hotel rooms because I was living at home. Now, some of you out there may be older. You may have a, stable job that you may not like, but you can't just have every other day off to go do tents. You can't just quit. You're going to have to hustle and do it at night or before work. Or if you got a Saturday event, maybe you go Saturday at 6 a.m. and do it. So the story that I know of someone who's trying to transition from part-time to full-time is they started a rental company, but they have a full-time job. When they can go out and do things, they do. Otherwise, they have hired 2 people to go out and set up the tents and deliver everything, which they would much prefer to be out there and in control, because having 2 people go do things, you don't have a lot of control. They say things get messed up sometimes, but they're at their normal job. So what they're trying to do is just get more inventory, build it up so that they know that they can actually quit their job and have stable income coming in from the rental business, and they'll, keep their employees, and then they'll be there and they can run the whole show, make sure everything goes smooth. So that's how that person is transitioning from part-time to full-time. And there's, you know, a million different ways that people are doing this. That was just how I did it over a period of a few years. I just grew the inventory enough to the point where I could leave and know that I was safe, going to make enough money to live and pay the bills. Not be able to like buy fancy things or do anything cool, but just to live, pay the bills, and slowly grow. So I know many of you out there watching currently have rental companies. So why don't you leave down in the comments for other people to read how you transitioned from part-time to full-time. Even if it's not a rental company, you probably owned some company. How did you transition from part-time to full-time? What was the hurdles, the setbacks? How did you do it? Just leave that in the comments for people, because my story is not typical. The other guy's story, you know, is not typical. Well, no stories are typical. No one is going to be exactly the same. So it would be beneficial for everyone to see how everyone did this, so you can understand that it can be done. That yes, it's scary, but that it can be done. Thanks for watching.